Hey, that's really good and stuff. So we've just started the podcast. I want to do a little bit of house cleaning. First of all, um, there's a problem with our opening theme. It's my handcrafted version of Still Dre, which just slaps really hard. But
It does.
unfortunately, the YouTube's not a huge fan of that stuff. So I would like to present to you, and the listener will probably have just heard this, but this is sort of, our behind the music, VH1 style. This, I'm going to play for you right now, our new opener, and I want to get thoughts because maybe it won't be. But, gentlemen, I present to you potentially and probably our new opener.
It's
Okay,
succinct.
Let's start with Ryan. What are your first reactions?
It's succinct, and I feel like I'm on an EKG, which makes me wonder if I'm living or dying.
Okay, that's not great. That was a microwave. Colt?
Microwave was my guess too.
Good.
It didn't inspire me, but I'll allow it.
So my thought was this, and before I make my thoughts known, Ellis Brynn Johnson M.Sc. Go ahead. What are your thoughts or feelings or both?
Well, appreciate you opening the floor to me, but it was just beeps, wasn't it?
Okay, this isn't going quite the way I thought it would per se, but what my thought was is that, our product here, it would be someone putting us in the microwave and then pulling it out, and wow, there's the podcast fresh off being nuked. You know what
Easy
I mean?
button. You hit the easy button. Add 30-second
Sure.
button.
Sure. I don't know how you convey that in sounds, but yeah.
Are you allowed to put babies in microwaves?
Nobody said that. Nobody said anything about babies in microwaves.
I don't think anyone told me not to.
You know what? I actually can't really argue with that. So let's move on. It sounds like we're all at a consensus that was easily understood to be a microwave, and everyone loved it very, very much.
The context was important. Thank you, AJ.
Yeah, no problem. So big news. We've partnered with Razzball. This is all Colt's baby. He got this done. Wonderful people at Razzball. We will get into all of their things, but we are super grateful and very excited to be working with Razzball. And that's where all of our stuff will now be. And we'll get into that later. Video, audio, yada, yada, yada. You can also still find us as of present where you used to find us. So now I just want to say, hey, Ryan.
Yeah.
So listen, as far as the video goes, right? Right?
I think
yeah,
we're doing
no,
video.
wait. No, bud, right?
Sure.
Don't do that. You know what it is. You know what those things are, right? Don't do them. Ellis Brynn Johnson M.Sc. Your hand is up.
Have we started?
Yeah, so this is the podcast. So by the way, we're doing video on Razzball Fantasy on YouTube. Disclaimer, there will be editing issues. I'm nervous, and my eye does a funny thing. When a funny thing happened on the way to the forum, I was on Concerta for a long time as a kid. Now my eye twitches, so enjoy that, viewers, I guess. So there will be probably a lot of weird behavior.
Hey, when
Ryan
you're here, your family.
editing this, so
he talks more when he's nervous too.
That's probably copyright, Colt. I don't know YouTube very well. Last time we were on here on our own channel, we got a copyright strike for Alan Parsons' project. All right. So the audio version will be more heavily edited than the video version, unless somebody has a wardrobe malfunction. But the audio version will be much more. Stop that. The audio version will be much more heavily edited. Now, on the topic, because this is our first video that's going to be on Razzball, the YouTube channel, Razzball Fantasy, on the topic of wardrobe malfunctions. Listen, who are we wearing? Consider this the Shall We Football podcast powered by Razzball, Red Carpet. I'll start with you, Ryan.
I am wearing a Weston sleep mask from the Raleigh-Durham Airport on my head, and a premium cotton Lenovo Yoga T-shirt. Very premium.
Premium. Mm-hmm.
That's right.
So it's all premium. It's all premium stuff.
All
Yeah.
premium stuff, and a bracelet
Wow.
that I got from a Mexican street vendor for 50 pesos.
Wow. Wow, all premium. Colt, who are you
Yeah.
wearing? What are you wearing?
This is my tried and true North Face Summit Series. I believe it is monkey fur. I'm not sure.
I was going to say, can you make it funny? But I think you just did that, really.
Yep. My coworkers insist that it is some sort of a monillo in Spanish. That variety. This is my tried and true. It's my cozy. It's like my little sweatsuit for home.
I
got my
love
AC
that.
fixed and it's
Mhm.
frigid in my house.
Mhm. I love all that for you. Ellis Brynn Johnson M.Sc. We'll discuss why we're saying all that in his name. What are you? Who are you wearing? I guess.
Well, I'm not as athletic as Colt, so I don't have a North Face shirt. I got a Joe Burrow rookie jersey on, and it's premium mahogany.
Oh, baby.
Ooh,
Made out
is
of
it
real
rich?
wood.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I cut it down myself up here in Canada.
Yeah, that's what they do.
Love it.
That's really
They
good.
turn
That's really
trees
good.
into clothing.
That's really
Yeah.
good stuff. This is all really good stuff. People aren't wondering where the fuck the football is. I'm gonna say I'm wearing a Troy Polamalu jersey, circa 2010, 2009,
Fucking
and I'm
phenomenal.
also wearing my Elton John hat. Ellis Brynn Johnson M.Sc. thought it said Peloton, but seeing that this is Elton John's farewell tour that's going on right now as we're recording, and my mom and I did see him, and he slapped so fucking hard. The man slaps in his, what I'm assuming is his 70s. God, he shreds though. Like, I don't know if that's a piano thing, but like the dude, he just wails. You know what I mean?
Very much so.
Banging
Yeah,
ivories.
so- Sure.
Tickling? The ivories?
Ryan, how about you? Okay, how about you start the podcast in earnest?
All right, Elton. Hello, good football to all. This is the Shall We Football podcast. I'm Ryan, my co-host AJ and Colt. Coming up, these are our ride or die football boys. That's the three players each of us are willing to bet the farm on having big-assed seasons. I'm glad I've read that last word. Our guest is the beautiful and illustrious Ellis Brynn Johnson M.Sc.
Wait, Ryan.
Yep.
People can now see what you aren't reading, so I need you to read it, please. Now you are held accountable. I'm so excited for this.
That's a shame.
Fucking read it.
Busted.
And now, our guest, the man who we only refer to by his full name. He is the padding in our training bra and our highest ranked Canadian buddy. It's Ellis Brynn Johnson M.Sc. Don't forget the M.Sc. He's very proud of it. We are very proud of him. Ellis is a master of science. He has mastered all of science and all it has to offer. Congratulations to our beautiful friend, Ellis Brynn Johnson M.Sc. You can find him on Twitter at @YoIt'sEllis_FF, Canadian NFL writer for Rotoballer. Now, are you a Canadian who writes about the NFL, or do you write about the Canadian NFL?
That's funny. That's funny. That's so.
I'm a Canadian that writes.
What a joke.
Yeah,
That's
I'm a
so.
Canadian
That's
that
so goddamn funny.
writes about the NFL because no one really cares about the CFL. Let's be honest now.
No,
right?
the Grey Cup, buddy.
Oh, exactly. Hey,
Live and die by the Grey Cup.
Drevler made an appearance
Are you-
last year and ripped up the NFL for a bit.
Yeah.
By
Are
ripped
you
up, like
are
110
you
years.
excited that he knew what the Grey Cup was?
I'm more shocked than excited. Actually, I'm pretty fired up that he actually knows about us.
Telling you, man,
Sick.
I'm a well-traveled sportsman. His master's thesis was a very difficult topic. It's the intersection of masculinity and inclusion within Canadian sport. Nothing has been harder on Ellis Brynn Johnson M.Sc. Than growing up a Bengals fan. It's tough life.
Bless you,
Tough
my
life.
son.
Plus Ellis Brynn Johnson M.Sc. Your thoughts?
Yeah.
I was reading.
Just you skipped a part. God bless. He's an expert also, in addition to Rotoballer, he's an expert consensus ranker, rankings contributor for Fantasy Pros. That's at Fantasy Pros. Yeah, good stuff there. I do believe in 2021 he was ranked 61st. Now you can check me on the Twitters, but that's a great number. That's a really good number.
Oh, yeah.
And probably those six. Listen, Ellis Brynn Johnson M.Sc. Those 60 other people, they were, it was rigged.
Schlubs is what they are.
Guys, thank you for the intro. I am so fired up to be here. I wish my ranking was 8 higher. The other way, like lower.
Yeah, samesies.
No,
I was about to say that, but I didn't. I didn't want to wish ill upon you.
So appropriate.
It would have been pretty nice.
We are so sorry for all this preamble. Ellis Brynn Johnson M.Sc. does deserve this. He's been on here before, by the way, and we love him very, very much. Ryan, continue. It's been too long. Ryan,
Ellis Brynn Johnson, you will attempt the new, and I must say improved.
Hey. Ellis Brynn Johnson
M.Sc. Excuse me. Will attempt the new, and I must say improved version of the pronunciation game. It's words Evan can't say. Named for our beloved former roommate, my adopted adult son, and the true star of Netflix Jewish matchmaking, Evan Karmason. We'll present the Mac Oracle Award for the episode MVP for the middle name of New England quarterback Mac Jones, Michael McCorkle, Mac Jones, and his heavenly dad bod. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at SWF_podcast. That's at SWF_podcast. Watch us on the Razzball Fantasy YouTube channel. Go to the razzball.com to not suck at fantasy sports no more. Because I
want to say that because Ryan, because of that weird thing you do when you sort of slur sentences together without pausing. It goes like this. Named for a beloved roommate and star of Netflix Jewish matchmaking, Evan Karmason. And we will present the McCorkle Award, It was a very interesting time editing that, so it didn't sound like Evan Karmason was going to present the McCorkle Award, although I wouldn't hate it. Ryan, go on.
I think he's proposed that at one point.
He has proposed it. I don't want to say you're way out in left field, but yeah, go on.
All right. Our rules of engagement, Ellis Brynn Johnson M.Sc. Human decency and puns not tolerated. Name calling is required. Do not wait until people are done talking to opine. No rules, just right. Brokeback Snakehouse. Gentlemen, shall we football?
I want a football.
Let's do it.
Let's do some footballing. We're going to die on these hills today. AJ, I love this. Ryan Nuthatch Brashler.
Yeah, so I forgot your middle name, and in honor of Ellis Brynn Johnson M.Sc. and us really, really hammering his middle name, I figured I would just sort of give you one that I thought matched your energy.
I like that. I think
so. Ryan, you're 3 players, sir.
I think I like
in
that
any
better
order
than my
you
actual
want.
middle name.
Just keep. I've heard you don't care for your middle name. I don't remember what it is, but please keep in mind that in 40 minutes, Colt's internet's going to die.
Is going to die. Colt is dying, is what I heard.
No, okay, I don't think he's going to die, but go on, please.
My 3 players are for different reasons, different and varying reasons, right?
Love that. Love that.
So my first player is going to be Kadarius Toney, wide receiver for the Kansas City football playing Chiefs. Do you want me to go in and then tell why, or just like say name?
I'd say the world is your oyster.
Love
Nuthatch.
That. So I'm Nuthatch. I'm going to get that on a t-shirt.
Yeah.
So I chose Kadarius Toney not for what he's done statistically in the NFL thus far. He has had some injury-plagued seasons with the Giants and really kind of came into his own in the latter half of last year with the Chiefs. His punt return in the Super Bowl arguably changed the direction of that football game. And it just showed a little glimpse of what he's capable of doing with the ball in his hands. And I think as long as he can stay on the football field and playing football instead of, not playing football on the bicycle thing that they do on the sidelines, he is an absolute live wire with the ball in his hands. And I think in that Kansas City offense, they're going to find ways to get him the ball and put him in space and let him work a little bit against one-on-ones. I think Kadarius Toney is poised for having a pretty substantial impact in that offense in the 2023 foosball season that the National Football League of America puts on. Ellis Brynn Johnson M.Sc. My second player is Devontae Adams,
Hold on,
I will
before you
ride
move
her-
on to Mr. Adams, are you
Mr.
really
Adams.
Mr. Adams? Are you really ready to die on the Kadarius Toney hill? I'm kind of.
Bud.
This is
I'm
a
there.
this
It's
is
a pretty goal.
a
I was
this is a
surprised.
deeper cut. Yeah, the fantasy
there.
boys here, Colt and Ellis Brynn Johnson M.Sc. I would
I don't
like to
give a
get
shit
your
about his
takes
fantasy
on this.
impact. I don't care about
Yeah,
his
but
fantasy impact.
these fellas, because he is an offensive skill player,
Sure.
have been paying close attention to people
Sure.
like him, and he plays for the Chiefs, so there's that. Colt, you seem skeptical.
He falls into the phylum hamstrings of sadness for me. He scares
I
me.
love that you used phylum.
Yeah.
I do
Yeah,
too.
that's my chief concern. I love Tony as a player. I really do.
Is it because of his injury concern, Cole?
That's it.
Ellis
And
Brynn
I-
Johnson MSC, are you excited that Colt said phylum because you're a master of science?
Yes, it made me feel included into the space, so I really appreciate that.
That was just for you. I'm glad you picked it up. AJ,
Yeah,
thanks
please
for the reference.
explore the space with us,
Yes,
please. Colt, go on.
yes. That's my chief concern. I just think the way that he moves, the way that he wants to move, it is so hyperbolic that his body can't handle it. It's like his soft tissue can't, like his body
He's too
allows it,
fast for his own body.
but it doesn't. Yeah, it's like the torque in which it takes. Ryan, to your point, that Super Bowl, that punt, the kick return touchdown, not touchdown, but the run. I'm getting ahead of myself here. It changed the trajectory of that game and that drive. In hardly anyone else in the league can move like that, but it comes at a cost. I don't think it's sustainable for somebody's extremities to move like that for very long. And
I did have the disclaimer if he stays healthy in there.
You did. I love the player. I'm concerned.
EBJ MSC, your thoughts, please.
Yeah, man, I like
it's
that
a
you're
cop-out,
going.
Ryan.
I like that you're going out of your way and picking a guy that does have a lot of injury history, and it's a huge if. The thing is, though, is when we're talking about like the actual NFL, not this fantasy foosball stuff, he can have a massive impact. Like he had that impact, and he only played 11 snaps in the Super Bowl. So he's clearly one of those players that when he's on the field, he's going to get used. And when he's used, he can be electric. Hopefully, Andy Reid, he's an absolute genius, can keep him healthy by only using him in a limited amount and therefore having a big actual NFL impact. My only concern, though, is especially if we are to talk any fantasy, outside of the injury, is that he's only played 19 games. So, yeah, there's injury. But in only 3 of those games has he had more than 5 catches. So he doesn't get used a lot. He's a very niche player that can have a big impact in a very small amount. So it's kind of like a Cordell Patterson back in the day, a Devin Hester. Like that's kind of how I see him. And if you want to preach it like that, then I'm all in. But I just don't know how consistent it's going to be. It's just his usage and being paired with Andy Reid.
I can see them getting him involved pretty heavily in the run game as well. That's the thing that I think is going to happen with his skill set. Just give him the football and see what happens.
And the goal line. They get cute in the goal line in Kansas City.
They too love to get cute in the goal line.
Yeah.
They are adorable when they get to that goal line. Ryan, who's your next guy?
My next player is Davante Adams, a wide receiver from Las Vegas, I believe, is where he now resides.
Love that place.
Yes, yes.
I love the inflections. This is funny.
So Davante Adams went to LA or Las Vegas, excuse me.
LV.
And
LV.
in his age 30 season, he set a career high for targets, got really close to a career high for yards, had a career high in yards per catch, and had his second best year as far as touchdown production goes with a substantially less talented, not substantially, but a less talented quarterback in Derek Carr, as opposed to Aaron Rodgers. Now he's stuck with the corpse of Jimmy Garoppolo that can't pass a physical, and potentially Purdue Pete himself, Aiden O'Connell, to huck him around the yard. I will still put money on Davante Adams being I did this for fantasy guys too, a very productive fantasy football player, even if Aiden O'Connell is the answer at quarterback, because that dude, he's going to throw some bad balls and he can't really move. but he's also going to hit open targets. And Davante Adams is the best in the league at creating separation in tight spaces. I think Davante Adams is going to have a monster year regardless of who his quarterback is. And he may have a better year if his quarterback is Aiden O'Connell than if it's Jimmy Garoppolo, because Jimmy Garoppolo has a tendency to not take a whole lot of risk. Aiden O'Connell will take some risk. He is a big football slinging chungus that's going to huck it down the field. And Davante Adams, I think, is going to be one hell of an option for him to go along. I believe Hunter Renfrow is still there. They still need another option out there, but he's going to lean heavy on Davante Adams, and I think DA is going to have quite the season, even if Aiden O'Connell is the option at quarterback that they end up having to go with.
Okay.
Coulter?
In the spirit of time, I'm going to have you do your next one, Ryan.
All right. Aaron Rodgers.
By the way, I'm saying not Hatch because for listeners, I wrote it on the slide, so I'm sorry I have to backtrack a little bit. Ryan, tell us about Aaron Rodgers.
I am now Nuthatch. I don't know how to retroactively change my name, but next time I will change it to Nuthatch if I remember. Aaron Rodgers is my final selection. That fella is going to have himself a season as a New York Football Jet. Gentlemen, can we say the Jets receiving core is far more dangerous than what Aaron Rodgers had his final year as a Packer? Is that a consensus agreement?
Easily.
Yep.
Garrett Wilson, Corey Davis. Who else is there? Doesn't matter. Those two are better than whoever.
I don't
they
know
had
if it's that much different. I mean, I think Garrett Wilson's way better than Watson, but outside of that, it's still Lazard and Cobb, and then it's Corey Davis to Romeo Doubs, and outside of Wilson, it's not really.
So Corey Davis was the top 10 overall pick. He's not a 1, but he's a really, really good 2.
So was Corey Coleman, though.
He was a first-round pick.
Yeah, he's a first-round pick.
Out of
Corey Coleman. Corey Davis has had some productive years. But then you still have the Packers' best receiver from last year with Lazard. And then you have Garrett Wilson, who's better than Lazard and better than anybody the Packers had outside of Lazard.
Well, I would say their best receiver is probably Watson. So compare that one. So Lazard would compare to Corey Davis, I would say.
Or to himself. He's in both.
Yeah.
Sure. But even last year, Christian Watson didn't know how to catch footballs. He struggled with the one prerequisite to being a receiver. He struggled to do that. He was very fast, though. Garrett Wilson is very fast and knows how to catch footballs and get open. I think the change of scenery is going to be a fabulous thing for him as long as he avoids the injury bug, because last year he played half the year with a broken thumb and still put up decent numbers and just about led the Packers to the postseason with subpar weapons all over the field. If the Jets offensive line is what it could be, those skill position players, Breece Hall in the background, a pretty good defense in New York. That's a scary recipe. And he is one of 9 great quarterbacks in the AFC. He chose to go to a different league where the road to get where he wants to go is fraught with so much more danger than it would be in the NFC. So I'm extremely interested to see how it works out. He could be one of those guys that plays great and doesn't make the postseason. It won't be all his fault.
Yeah.
Or he could play awesome. Who knows?
Should we make another quarterback bet again this year, like we did last year? That was fun.
Who's your guy this year?
I don't know. I've got
to work out last year.
I got a good idea.
With that in mind, Ryan, go ahead and give Colt his small introduction here.
Michael Coulter Snowdy, it is your turn, sir, to give us your 3 players for whom you would die on a large mound of dirt.
Okay. Well, without further ado, then I'll go ahead and tee up. I'll go ahead and push my chips in the middle here on this bet that we had going last year on the podcast. I challenged Ryan to a friendly wager. I don't think we ever put any money on it.
We never paid anything off. No,
we didn't. We just used the term loosely.
Yeah.
I wagered that Trey Lance would outscore Aaron Rodgers in fantasy points. And I was wrong, but in theory, the theory was there. So if you took the 2 games that Trey Lance played before he broke his ankle and you extrapolated the fantasy points out, you get where I'm going. But I was wrong.
Sure.
I admit. Rodgers did have a down year, and that was my point.
He did.
So I'm going to double down, and I'm going to give you a hefty dose of one Anthony Richardson. He's going to outscore Aaron Rodgers fantasy points 2023.
Is health a factor?
Is health a factor?
I think
for
it needs
AR?
to be.
Or on
For
both
both.
sides? On both sides?
For both ARs,
we should
yes.
build. Yes. Love it. God, didn't even think about that. You freaking rascal. AR times 2. So yeah, health is going to be a consideration.
Okay.
We'll dig more into that in a little bit. We'll discuss the details.
We'll touch on that later in the summer.
I'll have my people contact your people. We'll sign the dotted line. Okay. Anthony Richardson. I mean, I'm in love with this dude. If you didn't already know, for those of you who don't know me, I've been pretty deeply in on him in the pre-draft process, going back to January at least. But it took time. It took time for me to continually process and digest and look at the holes in his game versus the upside and the assets in his game. I will say a lot of it had to do with him going 4th overall to Indianapolis, which I know scared the piss out of you, Ryan and AJ. You could view it as
to.
Yeah. And now, having written the article that went out last Friday on Razzball, shout out, thank you guys for that opportunity. Having the opportunity to dig even deeper on Richardson, I really like what I saw. I mean, there were some things that unnerved me, especially failing to even look off a single high safety. Like, that's staring down your lone receiver on a go route and not even trying to look off a single high safety. Like, it's concerning. But here's where I fell in love. The rushing upside for fantasy, Shane Steichen as a play caller. Pretty good offensive line, number 10 ranked PFF offensive line in Indianapolis. Not as elite as they once were. Skill position weaponry. You got Jonathan Taylor in the backfield, Michael Pittman, Josh Downs, Alec Pierce year 2, Jelani Woods, Mo Ali Cox. So they can run 12 personnel. Anthony can get a lot of design carries. Steichen, I think, if he would have went to the Raiders, I would have hated it. Josh McDaniels is not the coach for Anthony Richardson, in my opinion. So the landing spot, coaching, opportunity, patience, Richardson's attitude, as well as that little character piece where he stayed and cleaned after the draft night. Like, that spoke to me.
We love the character.
Love the character.
Great
that kind
character.
of stuff never show up in the stat sheet, but watching some of his OTA drills, they're focusing on his footwork, hammering his footwork. And he seems, from all accounts, what I hear and see, he's excelling in drills. And Steichen seems pleased. And it's his reaction after he hits the throw. He just like, he looks excited. The kid looks just alive, like really, really happy for the opportunity. And I think, I heard a stat last night on a podcast as I was falling asleep. Generally how I fall asleep. I literally live and breathe this shit, boys.
Yeah, buddy.
He's going quarterback 8, I think, in redraft right now. Quarterback 8 or 9. Anthony Richardson. His stock is that high as of, in the last month or so. So he's basically the tier break. He's that bridge guy. Post, like, he's the guy you take before Kirk Cousins and stuff like that. Those pocket passers, the veteran pocket passers and stuff. People are really, really creeping up on Richardson, but I think my rant is over about that. I'm all in. Could be a beautiful disaster, but I don't think
we're going down with that ship, buddy.
I will go down with it.
Who's number 2?
Number 2 is going to be one Chig Okonkwo. I love this kid coming out of Maryland last year. He had 45 targets, only 32 receptions, 449 receiving yards, only 3 touchdowns, He did not play 50% or more of snaps only twice last year. So he was splitting snaps with Austin Hooper. He gone. So is everyone else. He's basically competing with Traylon Burks, Racy McMath, Nick Westbrook-Akine. Who the heck else is there? Oh, Kyle Phillips.
Superstar wide receiver room in Tennessee.
Yeah. So now all situations aren't created equal. It's not just, oh, there's a void there, so by default, all targets get funneled his way and he does good. That's not how fantasy works. I used to think so many moons ago when I was a wee tyke. But sometimes it does work that way. If the athleticism in there and targets are earned. I'm a big believer in that. Targets are earned, plays are designed. Chig is worthy of those targets. Last year, his yards after the catch per reception were 7.8, and he averaged 14 yards per reception. His measurables, his comp and player profilers, Jermichael Finley, AJ, you've pointed out before, that was the perpetual breakout tight end candidate back in the last decade. He's fast though. Chig is he runs a 4.52 40. Speed score is 92nd percentile. Burst score 69th percentile. I just think the targets are going to be there. I don't think outside of Burks, anyone is going to really challenge for targets. I think the athleticism of Chig, the speed, the power, I think that every opportunity is there. He has rapport with Tannehill. He already flashed in his rookie season. I think he's going to continue to build momentum off of that. And you can get him pretty late. See, this is a nice value pick.
All right. And pick number 3.
This one's going to be a little more obvious, low-hanging fruit. Garrett Wilson. And to your point, Ryan, about the ferocity of the AFC, it's a narrow path to walk that gauntlet through the AFC and get to the playoffs and or Super Bowl. Man, it's absolute juggernaut. But the thing I like to Garrett Wilson, rookie year, 139 targets, 83 catches out of those targets, 1,103 yards, 4 touchdowns. You put up over 1,000 yards and earn 139 targets your rookie year playing with Zach Wilson,
No, baby.
Mike White, and Joe Flacco. You're speaking my language. Like,
he is something else.
Yeah, that's real deal shit right there, man. He needs to pass the eye test, which he does with flying colors. Like, I'm not the kind of guy where I'm just going to look at a stat sheet and I'm not going to draw a conclusion and say this guy is good or he is bad. But what he did his rookie year with 3 different quarterbacks, I mean, it's just
3 different, remarkable. Not just you say 3 different quarterbacks like it's like 3 different serviceable quarterbacks.
I'm trying to be nice, but go ahead.
Yeah, he did it with Zach Wilson, White Mike, and some guy that worked at Target 3 weeks before.
3 trash bag quarterbacks.
Yeah. 3 very subpar quarterbacks.
Now he gets an MVP caliber quarterback in Aaron Rodgers, a seasoned veteran who hyper targets his alpha receiver. Now, Rodgers is a pretty mercurial guy, and trust is a big thing with him. Now, I do think we also have the slight psychological factor that Garrett Wilson also dons number 17 as well. So maybe that kind of like seeps into Rodgers' psyche as Devontae Adams is 17.
I like that. He's going to have flashbacks.
Mm-hmm. Where's 1-7? Where's 1-7?
Yeah, you're getting this
nostalgic
in your old age.
Yep. I mean, I don't think too much really needs to be said for Garrett Wilson. He broke out as a rookie, and he just got a massive quarterback upgrade. I look for a big year too. I think he could finish top 3. I think he could be that 3rd receiver behind Chase and Jefferson. I think he could finish that high.
Wow.
Yeah.
Ellis Brynn Johnson M.Sc. Your thoughts on that claim?
I'm all in. I'm all in, Colt. I'm with you on that, man. I mean, I think Cooper Kupp deserves a little bit more respect, but I think top 3, top 5, man, he's that good. I agree with everything you said about Rodgers. And I also wanted to chime in, but man, I'm all in on A Rich with you. So if y'all want to get a bet going, get me in. I want it. I think A-Rich. Absolutely. So I love it, Colt. Chig, I gotta say though, Chig, I don't know. I love his athleticism and everything, but from week 12's on, when he was finally breaking out, he was only tight end 7. And Tannehill doesn't necessarily love to target the tight ends. Like what I think in 2021, their top target for the tight end only had 45 targets. In 20, or no, that was 2020. I think 2021 was Johnny Smith with like 65. So I hope the targets are there. I hope he can earn them.
Yeah.
In the 11th round, why not? Why not take a shot?
Exactly. Yeah, if I'm not taking one early, I'm okay taking Chig later.
All right. Who's next? It is Adam Joseph Donnelly. Elton himself.
Yeah, proudly rocking the Elton John hat. So I've got 2 defense boys and 1 offense boy. Let me pull the crowd. You want defense boys or offense boy?
I want defense boys.
Give me the D.
You want defense boys?
Give me the D.
Ellis Brynn Johnson,
M.Sc.
M.Sc. He wants the D, so the D shall be given. So let's start with Jalen Phillips, Miami Dolphins edge rusher. So Jalen Phillips had as many QB hits last year as Myles Garrett did. He had the 5th best pass rush grade among edge rushers on PFF, higher than Max Crosby. And he's clearly a good player, right? He was a first-round draft pick out of Miami, the university, the one in Florida, not the one in Ohio. He did go to UCLA first. He was the number 1 recruit in high school. The guy was big time for a long time before he finally went in the NFL draft in the first round. Outside of him being clearly like a good player ready to break out, one of the reasons I think it's going to be a huge season is that Jalen Ramsey is now there. Quarterbacks are going to be forced to hold on to the ball even longer than they're used to whenever they play the Miami Dolphins. And that is going to, I think Jalen Phillips, even before Ramsey got there, was probably primed for a big season. I think this makes it that much bigger. And I'm willing to die on a big mound of earth for that one there.
I like that.
Jalen Phillips
makes
is going to have a huge year.
Huge.
Do you want me to sandwich my sweet offensive boy in the middle?
That sounds
I do,
delightful.
yeah.
Yeah. So
a big D
Travis
sandwich.
Shush. It's Travis Etienne, former Clemson running back, now first round draft pick and running back for the Jacksonville Jaguars. So this is an extrapolation of efficiency, and it's not actually that much of an extrapolation. He was 4th in yards per carry among running backs. And the other guys ahead of him, 2 of them were, I think in 2022, is Aaron Jones, Tony Pollard, and I think Khalil Herbert, if I remember correctly. So all those guys, part-time players. And their carries on the season were pretty similar to Travis Etienne, but Travis Etienne didn't start the first 4 or 5 games. So those other guys were part-time players throughout the season. They played large roles, but they were still part-time players throughout the season. Travis Etienne was not a part-time player after he got the job. From that point on, he was the bell cow lead back for the Jacksonville Jaguars. He had 1,125 yards and 220 carries, which, like I said, hovers right around those other guys who were ahead of him in yards per carry. Here's the other thing. I would say that the Jacksonville Jaguars, their offensive line was questionable.
Sure, you can say that.
Perhaps.
I agree.
They added, while Cam Robinson is suspended. They did add another tackle. They lost Juwan Taylor, but they added Anton Harrison, the first-round tackle from Oklahoma this year. So hopefully they'll see some improved tackle play, and especially whenever Cam Robinson does finally come back. The other thing is, I think he's being underutilized, and this is where the subjectivity comes into it. I think Travis Etienne is being criminally underutilized in the passing game. I think he could be in the echelon of Deebo Samuel and Christian McCaffrey if he were given that type of volume. Yeah. I think he's that good and that versatile of a player to be able to do that. So that's my second boy. I can tell you guys are now we're a little short on time. Hold your tongues, gentlemen. My last one is Chase Young. I'm calling this one too talented to fail. 2020, 15 games started, 4 passes defended, 4 forced fumbles, 3 recoveries, 7.5 sacks, 10 TFLs, 12 QB hits, a 14 average value added. Plus, he was Defensive Rookie of the Year. If there's a situation in which he could thrive, it's the one where he's surrounded by 3 former first-round draft picks on the defensive line for the Washington Red Hogs. We're still doing that.
Ellis Brynn Red Hogs, obviously.
Yeah, by the way, we're still doing that. So, like, he's in the perfect spot. Montez Sweat broke out in a major way. Jonathan Allen is an absolute stud, and Deron Payne was just re-signed. Was a Jonathan Allen. Either way, both former first-round picks, both from Alabama, as it were. The defensive line is as good as the defensive line gets in the NFL. So if there's a place that's conducive for a player to sort of be able to, slowly come along, it's when there's 3 other guys on the defensive line that could potentially regularly demand a double team. It's sort of a take your pick. It's, pick your poison kind of thing. But Chase Young also, like, he was the 2nd overall pick in 2020. The only reason he wasn't the first is because Joe Burrow was the greatest college quarterback. And as far as I'm concerned, that he had the greatest season of any college player I've ever seen.
Yep.
And I don't think that'll ever be duplicated. Joe Burrow is so fucking special. And, they needed a quarterback so badly.
Yep.
But Chase Young was on his talent level coming out. They were in the same. I mean, some people maybe have said that Chase Young was in his own tier coming out in 2020. I think he's literally too talented to fail. So those are my 3. And because we're short on time, Ellis Brynn Johnson M.Sc, you're next.
Love it. All right, let's get at it. So, boys, you all have amazing picks. I'm all in on all of them. Unreal. Love the Trey Lance little shout out too. I'm a huge Trey Lance guy too. So I just want to get that out there.
Yeah, buddy. I still believe.
I still believe, man. I had a Fantasy Pros feature where I talked about him. I'm like, man, I hope he starts this year, please.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah. Okay, let's get down to this. Let's start with probably my most confident. And I'm going to kind of approach these guys with more of a fantasy view because that's kind of my wheelhouse. So the first one is Lamar Jackson. Man, Lamar Jackson's going to absolutely pop off. And everyone's talking about, Monken coming in and they're going to be great in pass attempts and it's going to be a lot more high flying. I think it's going to be more high flying, but he doesn't need it to be. When he had his MVP season, he only passed for about 3,100 yards, but he had 36 touchdowns. It's the efficiency. So they bump up the volume too. That's awesome. But if he can be efficient, that's what really matters, I think. When it comes to their weapons, it's so much better than when he had his MVP season. When he has his MVP season, he had Mark Ingram in the backfield. And it was Seth Roberts, Willie Snead. And then it was Hollywood and Andrews were the only 2. Now he has OBJ. He has a first rounder in Bateman, who I know you guys like. He also has the first rounder in Zay Flowers as well. That's 3 first round receivers that he's now throwing to. Add in Mark Andrews, who is definitely one of the best tight ends in the league. I think if he is going to pass more, that's not going to fail. And he's going to run because that's just what he does. Over his last 2 seasons, and not including his MVP season, so over just the last 2, where he's passed for over 200 yards, pretty low bar, he's averaged 24.5 fantasy points. That's as much as Mahomes did last year. So that's how good he is, and that's just the last 2 years. Those weren't even him at his best. So that's pretty sick. Since we're flying through this, I'm going to go right to my next one, and that's Aaron Jones. Man, I just love Aaron Jones. I love him as a guy. He's a Walter Payton Man of the Year nominee. He's an absolute stud of a player. He's electric. He's the closest thing to Alvin Kamara. Everyone wants to claim it's Gibbs. It's Aaron Jones. His efficiency's through the roof. He's always going to be electric, and this is his team. As much as people want to say it's Jordan Love and Christian Watson's breaking out and Dylan's coming up back, no, this offense is going to run through Aaron Jones. Love is going to need a lot of help, I think. I believe in him as a game manager, but he's going to need a lot of help to run this offense, and Aaron Jones is the guy to do it. Over his last 4 seasons, he's been an RB, a top 12 running back for fantasy purposes. He's currently being drafted as the RB15, so you're already getting him at a value. Over the 4 years, he has 60 or more targets in each of those 4, and he's going to get used even more with Love. I know in the one sample size of the one game against Kansas, he wasn't targeted, but that's going to change, and we all know that. Especially when we talk about the weapons around him. You know, these guys are all young. Like Watson's 24, Dobbs and Reed are 23, Sam Toure and Dylan are 25, and Musgrave and Croft are like 22. So Aaron Jones is the elder statesman of this group, which I know Ryan can appreciate and value. So everyone needs one of those guys to help with the offense, and that's what Aaron Jones is. He's averages like 5 yards a carry every single year. He's more than a touchdown guy too. If you wanted to say the offense takes a step back, well, they were pretty bad last year, but he only had 2 rushing touchdowns. He pulled off 5 receiving. That's only going to go up most likely. And the one issue that I can't really argue with is that Dylan got all the red zone work. He had 10 carries with inside the 5, whereas Jones only had 2. But I don't think he needs it. That's icing on the cake. If you want to be a top 5 RB, then he's going to need it. But he's going to be top 12, I think, regardless. Now, that's my little pedestal that I was just sitting on. I hope you guys appreciate it.
That was beautiful.
Yeah. That was beautiful. Now I'm sorry about this. This is the pronunciation game. Thanks our old roommate.
He's got one more.
He's got one more?
Yeah. That was only 2.
Trying to cut me off.
Okay, all right. Fucking settle down.
These are esteemed guests.
Okay. Christ alive. You boys.
Man, I'm sweaty over here. This is good stuff. All right, we're just getting warmed up, man. All right, next one's probably the least sexy of this group, and that's Miles Sanders. And man, I just think what he did last year.
I think he's sexy.
I mean, I think he's a very good-looking guy. I agree. And his Instagram's named Booby Miles, so I mean, like that's always a plus too.
And he can pass.
Love that.
Yeah, no, he honestly, I think what he did last year gets overlooked because of Jalen Hurts was automatic on the 1 yard line and the line itself. I'm not saying that didn't help him, but the fact is that he still put off 11 rushing touchdowns with Jalen Hurts having 13. That just shows you how good the offense was, but that was also all 11 were not I don't believe any of them were on the 1 yard line because they would just sneak it in. So that's the first thing about Sanders. He rushed for over nearly 1,300 yards last year. You don't just do that by accident. And he also averaged, I know yards per carry isn't amazing, but 4.9 yards per carry on like 260 attempts. That's pretty impressive regardless of your line. The thing is the coaches has come out and said how great he is as a pass blocker and that he has untapped potential as a receiver. Therefore, if he becomes a true 3-down back, and kind of like I said about Jordan Love, if Bryce Young's going to rely on a safety net, it might be Miles Sanders, which I think could even up it even farther. Last year, Donta Foreman, coming off of an Achilles way back when, has this resurgence, and he averaged 120 rushing yards in his 5 games with over 20 rushing attempts. That's a lot of rushing yards for a guy that I think is better than people think, but he's not great. I think Sanders is a lot better. If Sanders can get 20 rushing attempts, that just shows you what the ceiling could be. The offense might not be good enough to make him into like the top 8 or whatever, but I think he'll come in on that low end RB1, top 8 to 12 range, because he's gonna ball out and he's gonna get the work to do it.
He better get the work to do it in that Panthers offense. They need his help.
That's a great pick. I agree. I don't think he's the sexiest, but I don't think he's getting the love he deserves at all. I think he's.
Well, I'll tell you
definitely...
this. He's got a big old bushy beard, but I'll be honest with you. Sorry, Miles. It works for him, but it is sort of all over the place. Maybe comb that bitch a little bit.
Yeah, he does need to tame it.
Great picks, Ellis. Great picks. I love the Aaron Jones
Colt,
take.
Go on with your stuff that actually matters, please.
The guy, Aaron Jones, is perpetually just uber efficient, man. The guy he does it year in and year out. And I think two years ago, I think it was the volatility was a little more felt. Yeah, a little more boom bust. Last year felt a little more stable. he'll give you those nuclear games. What was it, 2 years ago? I think he had like a 45-point outing against Dallas.
Yeah, that was the 4
If I remember.
touchdown game. But he was awesome.
4 touchdowns. Yeah. So I mean, Jones has that potential. He could finish in the top 5. He gets more goal line carries. I mean, Dylan looked pretty bad last year as well. Towards the end of the season, he started to look a little better and be a little more productive. But Jones he's the better player, regardless if he's 28 years old or not. I mean,
without Rodgers, I think he's the best player on the team.
Yeah.
With Bakhtiari having injuries and stuff too, probably on both sides of the ball.
I totally agree that the offense should run through Aaron Jones. I think Love is the game manager type quarterback, at least at this point in his career, just getting a crack at the starting job. And Aaron Jones is the leader of the offense and the elder statesman. So I think he's going to get a lot of looks funneled, a lot of touches.
Yeah, like look, you guys leaning on Ryan just for a podcast. Imagine leaning on Aaron Jones. I mean,
No, buddy. His legs are way stronger than mine.
Man. I love when he wears those Oakleys too. This those huge like wrap Oakley.
Sombrero too.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a great guy, man. And I appreciate you guys calling out A-Rich's character because, like, man, it's one of my favorite things about him is like being a junior firefighter and stuff too, and all like his story and like in his press conference, I'm just here to not get fined. Like he just seems like a great guy.
The jokes.
I love it. I'm just all in. It's unbelievable.
Me too. In my process,
if I was a fire and I saw A-Rich coming for me with his
I would
hose,
put myself out.
I would. Yeah, I would probably put myself out too. I think I would piss as a fire.
Yeah. I really enjoyed the process of just digging really, really deep on him, like writing about him too. It made me just want to root for him even more.
Yeah. So actually on this note, Colt, I'm going to throw down a little audible here. During my rookie draft, he fell to the 104. We got a super flex dynasty here.
Mm-hmm.
I basically traded AJ Brown for him straight up. How are we feeling?
AJ for A-Rich?
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. How's your receiver room?
I got Higgins and Chase, so we're chilling.
Oh, all day. Now, yeah, I love. How's your quarterbacks?
Herbert and Daniel Jones and Trey Lance because ride or die, baby.
Okay, I love that. I'm cool with taking the swing there for A-Rich. And I think that's an appropriate price point. I mean, he just turned 21. AJB's 25. You got Chase and Higgins, the 2 Bengal receivers. I'm good with it.
I appreciate it.
Ryan was told there would be no math.
Yeah, there's too many numbers. I tuned out.
Speaking of numbers, now do you guys mind if I Colt,
please.
You're going to lose your
Yeah, I might just black out here, guys,
but that's okay
due to my own scheduled Spectrum maintenance or unscheduled.
Love Spectrum.
Okay,
now,
with that in mind,
M.Sc.
these are the pronunciation. This is the pronunciation game. Things our old roommate Evan Carmison just can't say. Well, we haven't tried these out on him, but I think it's safe to extrapolate from what we do know he can't pronounce. This is the Cincinnati Bengals edition, and I swear to the sweet Lord above that I did not plan this. Ellis Brynn Johnson M.Sc.
No way. There's no way, man.
I did not plan this. I swear to you.
Hey, AJ, if you got a crush on me and you're trying to impress me, I'm just going to tell you it worked, okay?
Dude, if I wanted to impress you, I'd do one of my fucking sick cartwheels right now. That's what I would do. You should see these bad boys. But my ding dang back. So all I can do is, I guess, pretend that I planned this. This is as of 5/6/23, and this is probably unfair because I'm sure he can pronounce these. I hope. This is a defensive lineman out of USC. What is his name? Ellis Brynn Johnson M.Sc.
Man, you know I'm illiterate, so we'll give her a shot, okay? We got Jay Tufele.
Let's check it. Judges, Jay Tufele.
I'll give it to him.
You know what?
He's a guest on this here program.
The higher end of partial credit. So The next one is an offensive lineman out of Kansas. What is his name? Next person,
Easy money. It's Hakeem Adeniji.
Hakeem Adeniji. Wow. Well done.
Absolutely nailed it.
Claps for you. Claps for you. My laundry.
Excellent.
So the next is a cornerback out of Colorado. I do believe
Love
he
this
was
name.
drafted by the Dallas Cowboys, I think.
Yeah, best corner we have. Had some big plays too. Low-key more shut down. A lot better than Eli Apple, let me say that. And it's Chidobe Awuzie.
It is Chidobe Awuzie, and the emphasis was on the right syllables too.
Silky smooth.
Okay.
Silky smooth.
Ellis Brynn Johnson M.Sc. See if your masters of science can help you with this doozy. Pronounce this name. This is the Texans kicker. We think no one's checked in Houston for a while.
Yeah, well, I hope I can pronounce this right because this guy helped me win a championship back in the day. All right, we got John Christian, Cameo Feka Meka Ella Kupa Pai.
Yep, that's it. Congratulations.
That was absolutely correct.
Winner of the McCourt Award. It's Ellis Brynn Johnson M.Sc. Last week's winner was Zaray Kunsabedian. Love you both. Okay, gentlemen, a real one for a real one. Gentlemen, let's give an SWF round of applause for Ellis Brynn Johnson M.Sc.
Absolute pleasure, Ellis.
Ellis Brynn Johnson M.Sc. Please, thank you so much. Now, please plug your shit, your stuff, for all the people because they need to know your personality is so dazzling and it comes through in your writing, and you're a treasure, a scholar, and a gentle man.
An actual scholar now.
Yeah.
An actual scholar, a master of sciences.
AJ, you're making me blush, man. I appreciate all the kind words you guys had to say, and also I love being here. I love all of you guys. Keep ripping it up, and congrats with the team up with Rasball. That's very impressive. When you're looking for me, find me at Rotoballer mostly. I do the Thursday night previews during the season. Right now, I'm currently working on doing over like 100 player breakdowns with a quick, fast-hitting outlook for this season. I'm going to also put them on. Hey, guys, but you didn't know this. I'm a TikTok guy, all right?
Oh, yeah. Okay. So talk those ticks, my man.
There we go. Catch me on TikTok at Fireside Fantasy _FF. Basically, what I do is I sit by a fire and I talk fantasy football. So that's my thing. That's where I'm going to be throwing down all these fantasy outlooks.
Be careful with your wooden shirt.
Once you're on the platform, that's where to find me. And, of course, on the Fantasy Pros ECR. Thanks again, guys.
Oh, yes.
With your mahogany wooden shirt next to the fire.
More claps. Practice safe fire. Ryan?
Thanks for listening to the Shall We Football Podcast. Please subscribe to our responsibly sourced program on any podcast platform and Fantasy Football by Rasball, where our humble podcast can now also be found on any platform. Also, subscribe to the Rasball Fantasy YouTube channel for the video versions of this delightful program. They are back. We're working on it. They will maybe get better. Follow them on Twitter at Rasball as well. Colt's also writing fantasy articles, so check those out. They may or may not be about what we talk about during the podcast week. It's whatever strikes that handsome man's fancy whenever he decides to write. So check out his articles as well with links to our program. Football.rasball.com. That is football.rasball.com. Follow us on Twitter at SWF_podcast, at SWF_podcast. That was longer than usual, so I don't have a Texas joke, but as usual, Texas is back.